It's time to start practicing some socialist distancing.
What the president, his denial at the beginning was deadly. His delaying of getting equipment to where it continues, his delay in getting equipment to where it's needed is deadly.
Do you think there is blood on the president's hands, considering the slow response?
Right on schedule, the Democrats with their willing cohorts and the lying legacy corporate corrupt mainstream media move to the next phase of the coup of Donald Trump, i.e., people are dead because of coronavirus based on his poor response. Here we go. Missed by many in the mainstream media and even many within conservative media, but I did point it out on my radio show, there was a little provision in the stimulus package that offered funding for a special group to be appointed to look into America's response to the coronavirus. Oh, yes, there is. What does that mean? It means that we have funded, or I should say, because we wanted to get our stimulus checks and there was all this pressure, even on the GOP and the president, got to make this happen, there was a little caveat slid in there under the guise of all kinds of other stuff packed into this that allows Nancy Botox Pelosi and Chuck E. Cheese Schumer to appoint a committee to have power, to have authority to deal with America's response to the coronavirus pandemic. And yet, we have another stage set for the attempted coup and removal from office of President Donald J. Trump. What are they now saying? Well, Chuck Todd said it. He has blood on his hands. Nancy Pelosi said his continual delay, it was deadly. And now, right on cue, the stimulus package has been voted on. It's been approved. The president signed it. And now, here they go. They waste no time making the rounds on the Sunday talk shows to lay it out in their painful decision of having to point out to the American people that the president, well, he's just not doing right by them. In fact, they even managed to get Joe Dementia Biden to sound somewhat coherent today because he had an actual script. God only knows how much rehearsal time was done before he was on with Chuck Todd this week. And Joe Biden had this to say.
Look, the coronavirus is not the president's fault, but the slow response, the failure to get going right away, the inability to do the things that needed to be done quickly.
Slow response? Slow response, really? Let me see here. When the president first issued the travel ban against China, he was immediately excoriated by the media, excoriated by the politicians on Capitol Hill, that he was actually trying to detract America's attention from the real important business of the day. And what was that business? What was going on? Well, in China, we had the coronavirus shutting the entire country down over there. The news media was talking about it, but that wasn't the main event. That wasn't their main focus. And when the president said, hey, this doesn't look good over there, we're going to shut down travel back and forth between our nations, and immediately he was xenophobic, he was this, he was that, and he was trying to detract the attention away from his, anybody? His impeachment. The Democrats in December and January couldn't get their head out of their collective arses because they were all occupied 24/7 with the mainstream lying legacy corporate corrupt media and guys like Chuck Todd, and it up to their eyeballs in impeach. So how could the president have responded any faster when you had his attention diverted to an impeachment that went literally nowhere? And then, to keep excoriating him that he's not getting the masks out there fast enough. He's not getting the ventilators out there fast enough. Again, because Chuck Todd is either too stupid to ask, doesn't know, or is just playing the usual mainstream media cover-up. Why are we so depleted when it comes to the government being able to have these types of resources readily available to start distributing? Because Obama depleted them down to nothing. And he provided no funding for their replacement. So Donald Trump went into this pandemic with nothing in the warehouses. And now he has to wait while the manufacturers actually make this stuff. You know, this is like listening to Andrew Cuomo, the governor of the People's Republic of New York, that little wannabe rogue dictator czar over there, yelling and screaming that the president isn't getting us our ventilators. And yet a week ago in an interview, Cuomo said he didn't even know what a ventilator was till this pandemic. Really? So in New York, people with the flu or other respiratory issues, you don't have ventilators? Oh, that's right. You didn't order any. In fact, when you were trying to find money for all of your new social justice warrior crapola, let's grow American government more and more intrusively into the private lives of people, you needed money for that. You and your administration there in New York took funding that would have been used for things like medical masks, ventilators, first responder kind of stuff, and you diverted it to your new social agenda. Bill de Blasio said to the New York Times, hey, stop talking about, let's not look back that I might have been a little slow to get to the table and, getting New York City, batten down the hatches and get a control on this thing. Well, then the same thing for Donald Trump. Understand what's happening here. They have built into the stimulus funding to put a group together with the specific job of presenting, once again, to the Senate, evidence, and this time the evidence is the president's lack of action killed people. The president wanting to reopen the country in Easter, it killed people. Because after all, we got 6 months more of this stuff to deal with, and Joe Biden says, you can do it, America.
It's interesting. One of the things that you have said, the scientists you've spoken to have indicated that realistically, we're looking at June at the earliest to even think about opening back up. That's a stark difference than the warnings we're getting. You're certainly hearing scientists will say that, an occasional governor will say that, Dr. Fauci might say that, but you don't hear a consistent message nationally. How would you convey that to the American people, basically telling them another 60 days of home confinement? That's a lot to ask of the American public.
Well, look, the American public is really strong and tough. The first thing we should do is listen to the scientists. Secondly, we should tell them the truth.
Joe, most people can't go 6 weeks, let alone 6 months, without a paycheck. But that just means more spending. That just means they'll need another stimulus package. Because after all, these are Democrats. So that's what they'll propose next. And Mr. President, by appeasing them this first go-round, by thinking you were getting ahead of the train, by you proposing, hey, we got to get some money in the hands of the American people, you haven't appeased anything. As my grandfather used to say, give a mouse a cookie, he'll ask you for a glass of milk. Appeasement never works. And now, here they come. They're going to put this on a lockdown, and they'll use this as the excuse that if the president doesn't go along with this, he doesn't care about lives. He wants people to die. And they have funded a group now that will have the authority to put together information to then bring to the Senate in another form of articles of impeachment. Here we go. Here we go. Round 3. Russia failed. Ukraine failed. Number 3, coronavirus and the response. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The Washington Post over the weekend in some op-ed realized something. Hey, by having America shut down, kids are home. College kids, school-age kids. Where is the liberals' number one playground? The classroom. And by having kids at home with their families, with mom and dad, they're able now to cut off that liberal ideological influence. Bum, ba-dum, bum. And some liberals are beginning to smarten up and go, wait a minute, whoa, 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 whoa. We need to wrap this thing up. We need to wrap this thing up. We need to get things rolling again. And I predict over the next week, you are going to see even the media narrative on this begin to change. Now, they're going to want to put America back to work for the same reasons the president does, the economic reasons, as well as the emotional, that people need to get out of their homes and get on with life again. No, nay. But the liberals, it's beginning to dawn on them, they have lost the ability to influence. And so you're going to see this narrative now begin to shift. This weekend, they're trying to really get it out there. Presidents kill people. Because they want to see if that's going to... And what they'll do is they'll let that swirl for the weekend, and then they'll do some test polling to see how that resonates with the American people. And if it blows up and blows up on them quickly, which Chuck Todd's comment has already gotten severe backlash, my prediction is before this week is over, they start the narrative and they start to turn, not for the same reasons that the president wants to reopen the country, but they realize, hey, wait a minute. While we've got everybody home and sequestered, we can't influence young people. Get ready. Mark my words. Hey, that's it for this rant. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a like. Make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Smack the bell to get notification of all of my rants by clicking the word all.